Most people think disruption happens when something goes wrong, when plans fail, when life falls apart. We view disruption as damage, something to fix, recover from, or move past. But what if disruption doesn't arrive because something broke? What if disruption arrived because something worked? For a very long time, at a cost no one ever named. For many Black women, disruption isn't sudden, it's delayed. It doesn't show up as collapse. It shows up as endurance that lasts too long, as strength that goes unquestioned, as silence. Silence mistaken for capacity. And when disruption finally arrives, it is often misread, not as information, but as failure. Can we have a transparent moment? Raise your hand if disruption has ever knocked on your door and challenged you to question your purpose. And I mean your whole purpose. I know. I know because I lived it. You see, there was a season when my family was navigating my mother's final days. At the same time, my beautiful sister was undergoing radiation treatment for a brain tumor. And I kept showing up as if I had endless capacity. I was also quietly navigating my own health uncertainty. Appointments I did not talk about. Concerns I did not voice. Needs I did not name. Not because I didn't feel them, but because I had learned that strength meant silence. What almost broke me wasn't one moment. It was accumulation of self-neglect disguised as responsibility. Disruption didn't arrive because I was failing. It arrived because of a system built on self-sacrifice had reached its limit. That's when I started to see disruption differently. For Black women, disruption is often interpreted as breakdown. But what I've come to understand is this. Disruption isn't a detour. It's a design. It's not something that we recover from. It's what exposes the systems that we have been surviving inside and invites us to design something different. I call that the disruption blueprint. It's the shift from survival as endurance to survival as intention. And when Black women build from disruption, they don't just heal, they change what gets built next. Here's what disruption actually does if we don't rush to escape it. Disruption reveals who has been carrying more than they've been allowed to name. It reveals stories that we have inherited instead of authored about strength, about responsibility, about leadership without need. And it reveals where design has been outsourced to survival, where we have been adapting ourselves instead of shaping the system. The disruption blueprint starts when we stop asking, how do I get back to who I was before this? And start asking, what is this disruption making visible that I can no longer ignore? That shift from recovery to design is where agency returns. You see, when an individual designs from disruption, communities change. Because communities are shaped by what we normalize, right? What we reward, what we quietly expect people to carry. So when Black women lead from self-defined clarity instead of inherited survival, they don't just create better outcomes, they create different systems. Systems where strength doesn't require silence, where leadership doesn't demand self-erasure, where endurance is no longer confused with destiny. This is how rebuilding minds become rebuilding communities, not through force, but through design. You see, disruption doesn't just expose individuals, it exposes assumptions. Just as some systems are built to benefit from people who endure quietly, fewer are prepared for people who redesign intention. The question that disruption asks is not, how much can you carry for you? It's, why were you carrying it alone in the first place? That question doesn't just change lives, that changes culture. Let this sit with you for a moment. Maya Angelou once said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." For those of you that raised your hand earlier, take a deep breath. Are you ready? Inhale. Exhale. That felt good, didn't it? Yeah. I want you to know that I see you. And that disruption is often that very moment, the moment that story inside of you refuses to stay untold. So if you find yourself standing in the aftermath of disruption, misdiagnosed as broken, consider this. What if disruption didn't come to end your story? What if disruption came to return authorship to you? Because you see, disruption isn't a detour. It's a design, and what you build from it matters far, far beyond you. Thank you.